In 2 Kings chapter 13, verses 18 and 19, we have these enigmatic words. Then he said, "Take the arrows," so he took them. And he said to the king of Israel, "Strike the ground," so he struck 3 times and stopped. And the man of God was angry with him and said, "You should have struck 5 or 6 times." Who are the characters of the story and what warranted anger from the man of God? Well, it was the time of Elisha the prophet. His ministry and influence had become widespread. Israel's present king Joash was an idolater and found himself challenged by a foreign foe. In this present crisis, he valued Elisha above his formidable army, and Elisha, who had played the part of a wise and sympathetic father to many, refused to turn from this rebellious king in his moment of difficulty. The transaction that follows the king's desperate plea for assistance is intriguing. The aged prophet tells Joash to take up a bow and arrow, so he does. Joash is then told to put his hands on the bow. He does, and Elisha puts his hands on Joash's hands. He then tells the king to open the window eastward, in the direction of the enemy army, and so he does. Having opened the window, the prophet tells him to shoot. He shoots, and as the arrow flies out the window, Elisha, under inspiration, declares Joash's victory over Israel's enemy, Syria. Then Joash, his faith in the promise of success is tested. And we now arrive at those interesting verses quoted earlier. Joash strikes the ground only 3 times, declaring his uncertainty of victory. It was this lack of faith in the promise of God that made the prophet angry, leading him to declare, "You should have struck 5 or 6 times, then you would have struck Syria till you had destroyed it. But now you shall strike Syria only 3 times. There's no room for feeling sorry for Joash or thinking Elisha was overreacting. God was trying to help the king, but the king was not inclined to help himself, and as a result, he was going to fail in achieving complete victory. This is a powerful life lesson for anyone. When God opens the way for something to be done or asks us to obey Him in a certain area of our lives and gives assurance of success, we need to do all we can to bring about the expected results. God will do, but we must do also, realizing that success will be given only in proportion to the enthusiasm and perseverance put in. There are only 2 ingredients needed to achieve success: divine power and human effort. It's an eternal truth that we need to remember in our spiritual lives as well as in our everyday activities. Now, it's not always neat and tidy as described above, but success in any line will never be the result of chance. It comes only when we pray as if the results depended entirely on God, and then we work as if the results depended entirely on us. So the question for you today is, how many times do you plan to strike the ground? Today, tomorrow, and into the remainder of this week?